Okay, something new. An alligator's tail length T varies directly as its body length B. An alligator with a body length of 4 feet has a tail length of 3.6 feet. What is the tail length of an alligator whose body length is 6 feet? Now, I know when you read all that, it's overwhelming. So here's the key words that you need to be looking at, okay? The tail length, we're going to call it T. So I'm going to highlight that. Varies directly as its body length B. Don't do anything else until you handle that. Okay, let's do that. Alright, so tail length T, when it says varies, that means you need a K. If it says varies directly, means you need to multiply. It says varies inversely, means you need to divide. This says varies directly, so I multiply by B. That's step one. Just write it out. Again, directly means multiply, indirectly means divide. The T goes on the other side. It says varies. You put the K with the B. This is called the constant of variation right here. Your next step is to figure out what K is. So solve for K. That's the next step. Okay, how do you do that? Well, they give you information to do that. So keep reading. An alligator with a body length of 4. Remember, B stood for body length. So we don't know K, but we know B is 4. Has a tail length of 3.6. So we just plugged in. That second sentence right there just tells you exactly what to plug in for T and for B. Now you do the math to solve for K. Y'all know how to do this math. We just divide both sides by 4, right? I need to get the K by itself. So 3.6 divided by 4. I'm pulling out my calculator right now. Not even going to pause it. I'm just going to pull it out and calculate. So 3.6 divided by 4. Hold on. There it is. How about 0.9? So, go back to my other color. 0.9 equals K. So that's important. I am not finished, but that's important. Now that I know what K is, I go right back to my first line. So now my equation is T is equal to 0.9B. If they asked me to find an equation, that would be it. I'd be done. But then they throw this third sentence in. It says, what is the tail length? So we're asked to find T of an alligator whose body length is 6 feet. So B is 6 feet. I just plug right in. T is equal to 0.9 times 6 feet. And I type that in my calculator. 0.9 times 6 gives me 5.4. And since the units were in feet, the answer is 5.4 feet. And I'm done. People make a real big deal out of these, but they're really not bad. Don't read it all at one time. Just the first thing is write an equation. Varies means it has a K in it. Directly means you multiply. Inversely means you divide. Jointly might mean you do both. Okay? Just depends on how the problem reads. Now, the next line tells you what you need to find K. Then you plug K in, and then the last line simply just tells you to use the equation to solve for something else. Let's try another one. Okay, an object's weight on the moon, M. Okay, so that's important. M is the weight on the moon. Do you like that trick? It's not what I meant to do. I selected my color, but it didn't really select. So M varies directly. Let me highlight that for you. Super important right there. As the weight on the Earth, E. Don't even do anything else. Let's write an equation for that. So M varies means it has a K in it. Directly means you multiply, and then to what? The Earth. So that's always step one. You write all your variables got a K in it. If it would have said inversely, I just would have divided by E. The next line is going to tell you how to find K. So it says Neil Armstrong, the first person to step on the moon on July 20th, 1969. That's just extra fact information for you. Weighed 360 pounds. Now that's weight on the Earth, right? That's what we call E right there with all of his equipment. But he weighed 60 pounds on the moon, and they told us that was M, weight on the moon. All right, we can do this. So I'm going to plug in 60 for moon. K is what I'm looking for, so I don't know what that is. And 360 is weight on the Earth. Are you thinking really hard about how much that equipment weighed? A lot, because Neil Armstrong was a fit man. He didn't weigh a whole lot. So 60 divided by 360 when I solve for K. by dividing 360 on both sides. Now k is by itself. So again, 60 divided by 360. My calculator said error because I typed it in wrong. 60 divided by 360, okay, is 0.1666667. Now, I get bothered when I have to round too much, and I don't like this. So you know what I'm going to do instead? I'm going to simplify this fraction to lowest terms. Look, that 0 cancels with that one. And you know 6 divided by 36 reduces to 1/6. So I'm going to keep this in fraction form, just so I don't have to round, because the decimal's ugly. All right, so I have m is equal to 1/6 is k, and now e. Now, again, if it just asks for the equation, boom, we're done. But they like to give you the slurred line sometimes, getting you to use the equation. It says, what is the moon weight of someone who weighs 186 pounds on Earth? So, how much would you weigh on the moon if you weighed 160 pounds? 86 pounds, I'm sorry. And you can do your own weight too. So 1/6 times the Earth weight is 186 pounds. And just do 186 divided by 6, because that's what that is right there. And I get 31. So the moon weight would be 31 pounds. And that is the final answer of this problem. This is just the formula. Down here, final result. See, not bad. All right, the water temperature of the Pacific Ocean varies inversely as the water's depth. Okay, so the water temperature of the Pacific Ocean varies inversely as the water's depth. Now notice they didn't give you any variables this time. Is that a problem? No. How about we call water temperature? What would be your favorite letter to call water temperature? Z? No, you would have called it W or T, right? So I'm going to call it T to represent water temperature. Again, if I can get my pen to work. So let's call it T. My pen's it's making me mad. Sorry. I've selected it 4 times already. There we go. T is water temperature. Varies inversely as the water's depth. What do you want to call water's depth? R? No, you don't. You want to call it D. I'm pretty sure that's what you want to call it. But you can call it anything you want to. But the best thing to do is call it something you can easily keep up with. Now, what's important here? How about varies inversely? Aha. So that tells us how to set up our formula. So always start with the first one listed. Okay, so I have T is equal to inversely. Don't do that yet. T equals K. You always do that. The K always goes next right there. The inversely says we divide by D. Instead of multiplying by D, if it said directly, you divide by D. So the K is always right next to the equal sign. It's never in the bottom. It's what you do with the next variable. And again, directly means multiply, inversely means divide. Now, the next line is to tell you how to solve for K. So it says at a depth of 1,000 meters. So that's our D, right, is 1,000 meters. So I have K divided by 1,000. The water temperature is 4.4 degrees Celsius. Okay, so 4.4 degrees. Now to solve for K, I'm going to multiply both sides by 1,000, right? I need to get that K by itself, multiply by 1,000, multiply by 1,000. Y'all know 4.4 multiplied by 1,000, 4,400 is equal to K. So that's my formula. T equals, plug in for K, 4,400 over D. Okay? And really be 4,400 over D. Okay, but don't worry about that. Now, the next part of the problem, that last line, is always getting you to use your formula to calculate something. All right, so what is the water temperature? So they want to know T. We don't know T. At a depth of 5,000 meters. So 4,400 divided by 5,000 meters. And by the way, we multiplied by meters right there. So really this is meters degrees, which is weird. And we're dividing by D, which is 5,000 meters. And since this is degree meters, the meters are going to cancel, right? And you've got it. So T is equal to 4,400. Don't get hung up on the units right now. So 4,400 divided by 5,000. And that gives you 0.8 0.88. Now that's a temperature degrees. So remember, that's Celsius. So most of us don't have a really good feel for Celsius. We could change that to Fahrenheit if we really wanted to know what it felt like, but we don't have to do that. We're done with that problem, okay? Okay, we only have 2 more problems. The value of y varies directly as x and inversely as the square of z. Oh my goodness. Can we do this? Of course we can. The value of y varies, so that means I need a y equals a k. That's what that says. The value of y varies. So y equals k, my constant of integration, directly as x. What does that directly mean? Multiply. So multiply by x, and inversely as the square of z. What is the square of z? Z squared. What does inversely mean? Divide. So divided by z squared. There you go. There's your formula right there. Next step, you're going to find k. So they're going to give you enough information to find k. So it says when y is 20, so I'm going to plug 20 in for y. I don't know what k is. X is 50, so there's my 50. And it's going to give me z also. Look, z is 5. But I have to plug in 5 and then square it. So all that next line is telling you what to plug in so you can solve for k. And just simplify. So right here I have 20 is equal to k times 50 divided by 5 squared is 25. Now you can simplify this if you want to. 50 divided by 25 is 2. So that means 20 is equal to 2k, or k times 2. And then to solve for k, I'm going to divide both sides by 2. So it turns out k is 10. What do I do with that? I plug it in right back over here. So my formula is y equals 10x divided by z squared. And if they just asked the formula, we'd be done. Then they like to add that third line that just wants you to find y when x is something and y is something. So notice this time, let me use my highlighter. X is 3 and z is 6. So I'm just going to plug that in, and that's going to tell me what y is. Okay, so I have y equals 10. Remember, x is 3 and z is 6, so 6 squared. So 10 times 3 is 30, divided by 6 squared is 36. We could reduce that. Both of those divide by 6. So 30 divided by 6 is 5. 36 divided by 6 is 6. Or if you wanted to type that in your calculator, you could too. But I like my fractions. So y is equal to 5/6. Okay? Oh, I finally made it to the last problem. I really didn't think I would ever get here, y'all. So the value of y varies jointly as x and z. Okay? So the value of y, I write down y, varies, means I need to equal k. Now, jointly, as x and z, okay, that means it's all multiplication. So x, z. That's what that means, okay? So when you say jointly, it's multiplication. But sometimes it'll say jointly and inversely, but jointly, just multiplying. Remember? Now it's our equation. Now the next step is to find k. So we need that next line to figure out what k is. So it says y is 25. I don't know what k is. X is what? 2. And z is 5. Okay. Then 2 times 5 we know is 10. So 25 is equal to 10k, or k10. That's fine. Now I got to solve for k. So what do I want to do? I want to divide both sides by 10. So divide by 10, divide by 10. Now you can keep that as a fraction, lowest terms. You could type it in your calculator and get a decimal version. If you don't round, that's the best way to go. Because if you round your k, that means your answer is always going to be off in the end. So it's best to never round k. Leave it as a fraction if you have to. But 5 goes into both of those, so that'd be 5 halves is equal to k. Or 2.5 is equal to k. That works too. So y is equal to 5 halves, or 2.5xz. Then that last line, remember that last line always wants you to plug in stuff and use your formula. So they want us to find y when x is 8 and z is 12. We can do that, no problem. So y when x is 8 and z is 12. Now I like to do all this stuff without my calculator. So look, 2 goes in 8 4 times. So I have y is equal to 5 times 4 is 20 times 12. That's 240. And that's my final answer. And oh my goodness, thank goodness we're done. That's the longest review in the whole wide world. But it's a good review. So if you've gone over it successfully and you've answered some questions for yourself, you're going to be just fine, people. I hope you have a good day. Let me know if you have questions.